Hello, my friends. I'm Dr. Linda Parker, board-certified urologist and men's health specialist. And today, we're going to have one of the most controversial and potentially practice-changing conversations about medical truths that your doctor learned in medical school decades ago, continues to believe and teach patients today, but that recent research has completely overturned with evidence so compelling it should revolutionize how we approach men's health. I believe it's time to bring these medical revelations to light with current scientific evidence that contradicts outdated medical dogma still practiced by the majority of physicians. Because when we understand which widely accepted medical beliefs are actually myths perpetuated by pharmaceutical companies, outdated textbooks, and institutional resistance to change, we don't just improve individual health outcomes. We transform our entire approach to preventive medicine and men's wellness. So, welcome back to this space where current medical research supersedes outdated protocols, and where evidence-based medicine challenges the status quo that too many doctors accept without question. Whether you're taking medications prescribed based on these myths, following advice that may be harming you, or simply want to understand the truth behind common medical recommendations, this information could literally save your health and possibly your life. Because here's the alarming truth I've discovered during 22 years of urological practice and extensive research review. There are at least 7 major medical beliefs taught in medical schools, repeated in clinical guidelines, and practiced daily by well-meaning physicians that recent scientific evidence has proven to be completely wrong, dangerously misleading, or based on flawed research sponsored by industries with financial interests in maintaining these myths. Now, let's go directly to the medical myths that have me deeply concerned after 2 decades of watching patients suffer from treatments based on outdated science. The revelation that shocked me most is this. Dr. Parker, I've been following my doctor's advice for years, taking the medications prescribed, following the dietary recommendations, avoiding the foods I was told were dangerous, but I'm not getting better. In fact, some things are worse. Is it possible that the medical advice I've been following is based on outdated or incorrect science? How do I know what medical recommendations are actually evidence-based versus just accepted practice? This is the question that arrives from frustrated patients who have lost faith in conventional medicine, comes up in consultations where standard treatments have failed repeatedly, and reflects a growing awareness that medical practice doesn't always keep pace with medical research. The uncomfortable truth is that medical education has a 17-year lag between research discovery and clinical implementation. I want you to stay for this complete medical revelation, because by the end, you'll have information that can protect you from harmful treatments, help you have informed conversations with your doctor, and potentially transform your health outcomes by understanding which common medical recommendations are actually myths disguised as science. All right, let's start with the medical reality that conventional medicine doesn't want to acknowledge. Medical myths aren't just harmless misconceptions. They're actively harmful beliefs that lead to unnecessary treatments, dangerous medications, and missed opportunities for real healing. But challenging medical dogma is professionally risky, which is why most doctors continue practicing outdated medicine even when they know better. But as with all aspects of evidence-based medicine, understanding the actual research, following the money behind medical recommendations, and questioning authority when evidence contradicts practice are absolutely crucial. Generic acceptance of medical authority without critical evaluation has led to some of the biggest medical disasters in history. So let's start with the fundamental question. Which widely accepted medical beliefs are actually myths that harm more than help? Why do doctors continue believing and teaching them? What does the actual current research show? And most crucially, how can you protect yourself from treatments based on myths while having productive conversations with doctors who may be defensive about challenges to their training. Let's start with the 7 most dangerous medical myths that your doctor probably still believes and practices. 7. You need to drink 8 glasses of water daily for optimal health. This myth has been repeated so often it's considered medical fact, but there's literally no scientific evidence supporting this specific recommendation. The origin was a 1945 Food and Nutrition Board recommendation that included water from all sources including food, but somehow transformed into a requirement for 8 glasses of pure water. The reality: your kidneys regulate hydration perfectly when you drink according to thirst. Forcing excessive water intake can actually dilute electrolytes dangerously, a condition called hyponatremia that can be fatal. The research shows that individual hydration needs vary enormously based on body size, activity level, climate, and diet. Yet doctors continue automatically recommending 8 glasses daily without considering individual factors or acknowledging that this rule has no scientific basis. This perpetuates unnecessary anxiety about hydration and can lead to genuine health problems from overhydration. 6th medical myth: cholesterol causes heart disease and statins prevent heart attacks. This is perhaps the most profitable medical myth in history, generating over $30 billion annually in statin sales. The cholesterol hypothesis has dominated cardiology for 50 years, despite mounting evidence that it's fundamentally flawed. The reality: a 2020 meta-analysis of 68 studies involving over 300,000 patients found no association between LDL cholesterol levels and heart disease mortality in people over 60. In fact, higher cholesterol in older adults correlated with longer lifespan. The Framingham Heart Study, often cited to support the cholesterol hypothesis, actually showed that people whose cholesterol went down over time had higher mortality rates. Yet doctors continue prescribing statins based on cholesterol numbers alone, ignoring the significant side effects including muscle pain, cognitive decline, and diabetes risk. The research suggests inflammation, not cholesterol, is the primary driver of cardiovascular disease. Medical myth number 5. Prostate cancer screening with PSA tests saves lives. This myth has led to millions of unnecessary biopsies, surgeries, and radiation treatments. The U.S. Preventive Services Task Force initially recommended against routine PSA screening after reviewing the evidence, yet many urologists continue pushing annual PSA tests. The reality: multiple large randomized controlled trials, including the PLCO trial of 77,000 men, found no mortality benefit from PSA screening. Most prostate cancers detected by PSA are slow-growing and would never cause problems during a man's lifetime. However, the treatments for these cancers cause impotence, incontinence, and other serious complications in 40 to 70% of men. The research shows that PSA screening prevents approximately 1 death per 1,000 men screened over 10 years, while causing serious harm to 100 to 200 men through unnecessary treatments. Yet doctors continue profiting from PSA tests, biopsies, and treatments without honestly discussing these statistics with patients. 4. Low testosterone is a disease that requires lifelong hormone replacement. The testosterone industry has exploded by medicalizing normal aging, creating panic about low T that drives men to seek treatments with significant risks. The reality: testosterone naturally declines about 1% per year after age 30. This is normal aging, not disease. The symptoms attributed to low T, fatigue, reduced libido, mood changes, are nonspecific and usually caused by obesity, poor sleep, stress, or depression, not testosterone levels. A 2023 systematic review found that testosterone therapy in men with age-related decline showed minimal benefits for quality of life, sexual function, or physical performance, while increasing risks of cardiovascular events by 54% and prostate problems. Yet testosterone prescriptions have tripled in the past decade based on aggressive marketing, not science. Medical myth number 3, annual physical exams with comprehensive lab work prevent disease and extend life. This deeply entrenched myth drives billions in unnecessary testing and creates anxiety about meaningless abnormalities. The reality. A Cochrane systematic review of 14 trials involving 182,000 people found that general health checks did not reduce morbidity or mortality from any cause, cardiovascular disease, or cancer. Routine physical exams in healthy adults detect very few important problems while generating false positives that lead to unnecessary follow-up tests, treatments, and anxiety. The research clearly shows that targeted screening based on age and risk factors, colonoscopy at 45, blood pressure checks, is valuable, but comprehensive annual exams with extensive lab work in asymptomatic people provide no health benefits. Yet doctors continue ordering batteries of tests that enrich laboratories while providing no value to patients. Medical myth number 2. Chronic diseases require lifelong medication management. This is perhaps the most limiting medical myth because it removes hope for actual healing and creates lifetime pharmaceutical customers. The reality. Most chronic diseases, including type 2 diabetes, hypertension, and even early cardiovascular disease, can be reversed through intensive lifestyle interventions. The research is overwhelming. A whole food plant-based diet combined with exercise has reversed diabetes in 60 to 80% of participants in multiple studies, eliminated the need for blood pressure medications in 75% of hypertensive patients, and even reversed documented coronary artery disease. The landmark Ornish and Esselstyn studies showed dramatic reversal of severe heart disease through lifestyle alone, yet most cardiologists never mention this option. Instead, they prescribe medications that manage symptoms while the underlying disease progresses. Why? Because there's no profit in telling patients to change their diet, but enormous profit in lifelong medication. Medical myth number 1. Modern medicine is based on science and what's best for patients. This is the most dangerous myth because it prevents people from questioning medical authority even when that authority is clearly wrong. The reality. A 2013 analysis found that 40% of established medical practices are eventually proven wrong or significantly modified when rigorous research is finally conducted. Medical practice is heavily influenced by pharmaceutical marketing, insurance reimbursement structures, malpractice liability concerns, and institutional inertia that resists change. Doctors receive most of their continuing education from pharmaceutical-sponsored sources. Clinical practice guidelines are often written by physicians with financial ties to drug companies. Medical journals depend on pharmaceutical advertising revenue. This creates systematic bias toward expensive interventions over lifestyle modifications, medications over prevention, and treatment over healing. The research on medical decision-making shows that financial conflicts of interest unconsciously bias physician recommendations, even when doctors believe they're being objective. Yet medical culture continues denying that profit motives significantly influence clinical practice. Let me give you a specific example of how these myths harm real patients. A 58-year-old man came to my office after 5 years of following standard medical advice, taking a statin for cholesterol, metformin for prediabetes, blood pressure medication, and undergoing annual PSA testing that led to an unnecessary biopsy. His cholesterol had been controlled by the statin, but he developed muscle pain and memory problems, common statin side effects. His blood sugar was managed by metformin, but he'd gained 15 pounds. His blood pressure was normal on medication, but he experienced dizziness and fatigue. And the prostate biopsy had found a slow-growing cancer that his previous urologist wanted to treat aggressively, despite evidence it would never threaten his life. We completely reversed his approach based on current evidence, stopped the statin and focused on reducing inflammation through diet, stopped metformin and implemented intensive dietary intervention that reversed his pre-diabetes, reduced blood pressure medication while adding exercise and stress management, and chose active surveillance for his indolent prostate cancer rather than aggressive treatment. 6 months later, his inflammatory markers had normalized without statins. His A1C was normal without medication. His blood pressure was excellent on minimal medication, and he avoided unnecessary cancer treatment. He felt better than he had in years, having escaped the trap of medical myths that were making him sicker while enriching pharmaceutical companies. This story isn't unique. I've seen hundreds of similar transformations when patients are empowered with current evidence to challenge medical dogma and make truly informed decisions about their health. The research exposing these medical myths is published in respected journals, but most doctors never see it because reason number 1, medical education focuses on pharmaceutical interventions, not lifestyle medicine or prevention. Doctors receive an average of less than 20 hours of nutrition education in 4 years of medical school. Reason number 2, continuing medical education is largely pharmaceutical-sponsored, creating systematic bias toward drug-based solutions and against evidence that threatens pharmaceutical profits. Reason number 3, clinical practice is driven by billing codes and insurance reimbursement that reward procedures and prescriptions, but not time spent on lifestyle counseling or patient education. Reason number 4, medical culture punishes doctors who challenge established practices, even when evidence supports the challenge. Innovation in medicine is often career suicide. The keys to protecting yourself from medical myths. Key number 1, question any treatment recommendation by asking, what is the evidence this will improve my long-term health outcomes? Demand specifics, not generalizations. Key number 2, research the financial relationships between your doctor and pharmaceutical companies at openpaymentsdata.gov. This doesn't mean your doctor is corrupt, but it helps understand potential biases. Key number 3, seek second opinions, especially from doctors trained in lifestyle medicine or functional medicine who are more likely to be current with research challenging conventional practices. Key number 4, understand that most chronic diseases have lifestyle-based solutions that work better than medications, even though doctors rarely mention them because our medical system doesn't profit from healthy patients. My medical recommendation based on reviewing thousands of studies: be appropriately skeptical of any medical recommendation that requires lifelong medication, generates significant profit for pharmaceutical companies, or ignores lifestyle interventions that research has proven effective. The reality is that medical practice lags decades behind medical research, and many widely accepted treatments are based on myths that benefit industries more than patients. And before we close, I want to mention something important for people who are committed to evidence-based health but want to ensure they're optimizing their body's natural healing capacity while reducing dependence on medications based on medical myths. True health optimization requires more than just avoiding harmful medical myths. It requires actively supporting your body's natural healing systems through nutrition, movement, stress management, and targeted supplementation, where evidence supports it. That's why I recommend 2 natural support options that complement an evidence-based approach to health optimization. For people who want gentle support for overall wellness while reducing medication dependence, I recommend organic watermelon extract, rich in natural L-citrulline. It supports cardiovascular health naturally, improves circulation, and provides the foundation for optimal physical function. But if you're looking for complete optimization, not just avoiding medical myths, but actively supporting cardiovascular health, hormonal balance, and overall vitality, then I recommend the Comprehensive Wellness Formula. It combines Icarian from horny goat weed for circulation and vascular health, Tonkat Ali for natural hormone support and energy, fenugreek for metabolic health and sustained energy, nettle root for overall wellness and inflammation reduction, and concentrated L-citrulline for optimal cardiovascular function. Together, these ingredients support the body's natural healing capacity while you transition away from treatments based on medical myths toward truly evidence-based health optimization. You'll find both options linked in the pinned comment and video description below. Question medical authority with informed skepticism and support your health with evidence-based strategies. Because true healing comes from understanding what actually works, not blindly following medical myths that profit industries while harming patients. For persistent symptoms, consult a professional.